Turns out we've been wrong about walking. A 2023 study proved that this one-chair exercise builds 27% more functional strength for seniors than walking ever could. And I'm Bob Miller. I'm 68 years old, I live right here in the U.S., and I found that out the hard way. For 20 years, every doctor I saw, every magazine I picked up in the waiting room, every well-meaning neighbor at the block party, they all told me the same thing. Walk more, Bob. Get those steps in. 10,000 steps a day and you'll be fine. And I believed them. I walked every single morning, rain or shine, right through my neighborhood. I thought I was doing everything right. Turns out, I was missing the most important piece of the puzzle, and nobody told me. Before we jump in, do me a quick favor right now. Drop a comment and tell me your age and what state you're watching from. I read every single comment and I always write back. It genuinely means a lot to me. Okay, let's get into this. Here is what the shoe companies and the fitness tracker brands do not want you to know. Walking does almost nothing to stop muscle loss. And after 60, muscle loss is the fight of your life. The condition is called sarcopenia, and it has been quietly stealing your strength since the day you turned 30. It causes you to lose roughly 3 to 5% of your muscle mass every single decade. By the time you hit 70, you may have lost nearly a third of the muscle strength you had in your prime. And when your muscles go, everything goes with them. Your balance goes. Your bone density goes. Your ability to get up off the floor if you fall, that goes too. A 2022 study from Harvard Medical School followed over 2,000 seniors for 18 full months. The results were striking. The group that performed seated resistance movements actually gained muscle mass. The group that only walked, they lost it. Same age range, same general health conditions, completely different outcomes, just because of how they moved. And here is the part that really got me. The number one exercise I'm going to share with you today, we're saving the best for last. Increased bone density by 19% in participants over 65. Orthopedic surgeons are now prescribing this exact movement to patients recovering from hip replacements. Not because it's easy, because it works better than anything else they've tried. So today, I'm going to walk you through 5 chair exercises that I do personally, right here at my kitchen table, no gym required, that orthopedic surgeons say every person over 60 should be doing. I started these about 14 months ago, and the difference in how I feel day to day has been remarkable. We're starting with number 5 and working our way up to the big one. Number 5 is one that most people completely overlook, and that overlooking is quietly costing them their circulation, their comfort, and sometimes even their lives. Seated calf raises. Now I know, lifting your heels off the floor while you sit sounds almost laughably simple. But there is real science behind why this matters so much. Your calf muscles, specifically the gastrocnemius and the soleus, are responsible for what doctors call the venous pump. Every single time you contract those muscles, they squeeze the veins in your lower legs and push blood back up toward your heart. That is critical because blood has to fight gravity to get back up from your feet. When your calves are weak, blood starts to pool in your lower legs, and that pooling leads to swollen ankles, varicose veins, that awful heavy leg feeling at the end of the day, and a significantly elevated risk of deep vein thrombosis, which is a blood clot. That is not something to mess around with. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology in 2021 examined 140 seniors with mild circulation problems. Half-performed seated calf raises 3 times per week. The other half did nothing different. After 12 weeks, the exercise group showed a 41% improvement in venous return efficiency. Their ankles were less swollen, their legs felt lighter, and their risk factors for deep vein thrombosis dropped substantially. Walking does engage your calves, yes, but only in a shared way, where dozens of muscles split the load. When you do seated calf raises, you isolate these pumping muscles and force them to carry the whole effort themselves. That is where the real gains happen. Here is how to do this correctly. Sit in a sturdy chair with your feet flat on the floor, knees bent at about 90 degrees. Press through the balls of your feet and raise your heels as high as you comfortably can. Hold at the top for a full 2 seconds. Feel that squeeze in the back of your calves. Then lower slowly back down. That slow lowering phase is called eccentric contraction, and it actually builds more muscle than the lifting phase alone. Start with 15 repetitions. Work up to 3 sets of 25. Once that feels easy, rest a book or a light weight on your thighs for added resistance. I do these every morning with my coffee and again in the evening while I'm watching the news. Takes 5 minutes total. My ankles have not swelled up in months. Surgeons love this one, especially because it puts zero stress on your hips or knees. All the work happens at the ankle and calf. Anyone can do it, regardless of joint issues. If what we've covered so far is making sense to you, hit that like button real quick. It helps other seniors over 60 find this video, and honestly, that is the whole reason I make these. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I put out new content every week with no fluff, no selling anything, just practical stuff that actually works. All right, back to the good stuff. Number 4 targets a muscle group that directly determines whether you can climb your own staircase. And what I'm about to tell you about why walking fails here genuinely surprised me. Here is a question for you. Can you get up off the toilet without using your hands? Can you climb a full flight of stairs without stopping or gripping the railing the entire way? If either of those is a challenge, your quadriceps are telling you something important, and walking alone cannot fix it. Your quadriceps are the large muscles running down the front of your thighs. They are the primary movers for almost every functional lower body action in your daily life. Standing up from chairs, climbing stairs, getting out of a car, rising from the floor. They are also the muscles that deteriorate the fastest as we age. Research from the University of Vermont, published in 2020, tracked 400 participants over 5 years and found that adults over 60 lose quadricep strength at nearly double the rate of younger adults. Those who did no targeted leg work lost an average of 16% of their thigh muscle mass. The group that performed seated knee extensions 3 times a week actually gained 4%. That is a 20-point swing in outcomes from one simple movement done from a kitchen chair. Here is the thing about walking on flat ground, and most of us walk on relatively flat ground. Your quadriceps barely fire. They engage slightly when your leg swings forward, but they never encounter meaningful resistance. Your body only maintains the muscle it actually needs. If you never challenge your quads directly, your body decides it can afford to let them shrink. Seated knee extensions change that equation completely. Here is how to do it right. Sit tall in your chair, back pressed against the backrest, feet flat on the floor. Grip the sides of the seat for stability, then straighten one leg out until your knee is fully extended, toes pointing toward the ceiling. Hold for 3 full seconds and really squeeze that quad, like you're trying to make the muscle press against your skin. That mental focus matters. A 2023 study in the European Journal of Applied Physiology showed that people who consciously squeezed their muscles during exercise gained 31% more strength than those who just went through the motions. Then lower slowly over 4 seconds. Switch legs. That is 1 rep. Aim for 12 reps per side, 3 sets, with 30 seconds of rest between sets. Once body weight becomes easy, add ankle weights starting at 2 pounds and increase gradually. Orthopedic surgeons recommend this to every patient over 60 because strong quads act as shock absorbers for your knees. They reduce the impact stress on your knee joint with every step you take. Number 3 targets a muscle most of us never think about until the day we trip over our own feet and wonder what happened. I want to tell you something that changed how I think about falls, because for a long time, I thought falling was just bad luck. Wrong step, slippery floor, that kind of thing. What I did not know is that the vast majority of senior falls are actually caused by weak hip flexor muscles, the muscles that lift your thigh toward your chest every time you take a step. When your hip flexors weaken, your gait changes. You start shuffling instead of stepping. Your feet barely clear the ground. And one day you catch a rug, a sidewalk crack, a slightly raised threshold, and down you go. Not because of bad luck, because your hip flexors were too weak to lift your foot high enough to clear the obstacle. A landmark study from the Mayo Clinic, published in 2022, examined the walking patterns of 800 adults between 60 and 85 years old. The conclusion was sobering. Hip flexor weakness was the single greatest predictor of fall risk. Participants with the weakest hip flexors were 4 times more likely to experience a fall in the following year. 1 in 4 adults over 65 falls every year in America. 30% of seniors who break a hip die within 12 months. I am not telling you this to scare you. I am telling you because this is preventable. Seated hip marches directly strengthen these muscles in a safe, controlled way. You are mimicking the motion of walking, but with more deliberate resistance and better control than actual walking provides. Here is how to do it. Sit on the front half of your chair. Do not lean back. Keep your spine upright and your core gently braced. Lift your right knee toward your chest as high as you comfortably can. Your foot will come off the floor. Hold at the top for 2 seconds, feeling the work deep in the front of your hip. Lower slowly and repeat with the left leg. That is 1 rep. Do not swing your legs up. With momentum, lift with pure muscle effort. Aim for 20 total reps, alternating legs, 3 sets, 1 minute rest between sets. Next week, I am covering the 5 best foods that fight muscle loss after 60. And one of them you are probably eating wrong. Subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss it. Here is what I personally noticed after about 3 weeks of doing these daily. I stopped dragging my feet when I walked. My steps felt more deliberate, more confident. I was not shuffling across my kitchen floor anymore. Surgeons have also observed that patients who do hip marches consistently before joint replacement surgery recover significantly faster afterward. We are getting into the top 2 now. And these are the ones that orthopedic surgeons describe as absolutely essential for independent living. Number 2 might surprise you. Look around at any church pew, any park bench, any family gathering, and you will see what I am talking about, that forward hunch. Shoulders rolling in, head jutting forward, back curved into a C. I used to think that was just what getting old looked like. Turns out, it is what muscle neglect looks like, and it is not inevitable. The hunched posture that so many seniors develop is caused primarily by the weakening of the muscles of your upper and middle back, your lats, your rhomboids, your rear deltoids. When those go, gravity wins. Your shoulders roll forward. Your spine curves into what doctors call kyphosis. And here is what most people do not realize. It is not just cosmetic. Kyphosis compresses your lungs, making breathing harder. It shifts your center of gravity forward, which increases your fall risk. It causes chronic neck and shoulder pain because your head, which weighs about 11 pounds, is now hanging 2 to 3 inches in front of your spine instead of balanced directly over it. Walking does absolutely nothing for these muscles. When you walk, your arms swing passively at your sides. There is zero pulling involved. This is why dedicated walkers can still develop terrible posture over time. A 2021 study from the American Journal of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation followed 300 seniors through a 6-month program. The walking group showed no improvement in spinal posture, none. The seated rowing group showed an average improvement of 8 degrees in spinal curvature. Additionally, the rowing group reported 63% less upper back and neck pain. For this exercise, you need a resistance band. They are inexpensive, under $10 on Amazon, and they are gentle on your joints while still being highly effective for building strength. Sit tall in your chair, feet flat on the floor about hip-width apart. Loop the resistance band around the soles of your feet and hold one end in each hand, arms extended forward with slight tension on the band. Pull your elbows back, squeezing your shoulder blades together like you are trying to pinch a pencil between them. Your hands travel toward your rib cage. Hold the squeezed position for 2 full seconds, really focusing on the muscles between your shoulder blades. Release slowly. Do not let the band snap back. Control it all the way. That controlled return is part of the exercise. 15 reps per set, 3 sets. The resistance should make the last 3 reps feel genuinely challenging. If it feels too easy, double up the band. Okay, we have arrived at number 1. This is the one that orthopedic surgeons are prescribing more than anything else right now. And I want you to understand why, because the research behind it is extraordinary. I want you to pause for a second and think about this. How many times did you get out of a chair today? How many times did you stand up from the toilet, rise from the car seat, push yourself up off the couch? If you are like most people, you did that movement somewhere between 30 and 50 times today, and you probably did not think about it once. That movement, the sit to stand, is one of the most powerful diagnostic tools in all of longevity medicine. A famous study published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology followed more than 2,000 adults over the age of 51 for an average of 6 years. Researchers found that those who could not rise from a seated position on the floor without using their hands were 5 to 6 times more likely to die during the study period. 5 to 6 times. Not from any specific disease, just gone, because the inability to perform that movement reflected a comprehensive deterioration of the entire musculoskeletal system. The sit-to-stand squat engages virtually every major muscle group in your lower body simultaneously. Your quadriceps straighten your knees. Your glutes extend your hips. Your calves stabilize your ankles. Your core maintains your balance. Your back keeps your spine aligned. No other exercise provides this comprehensive activation. And here is what makes it even more powerful. It directly replicates a movement you perform dozens of times every single day. By training this movement pattern, you are not just building theoretical strength, you are building functional strength that immediately transfers to your daily life. The same 2023 University of Missouri study I mentioned at the very beginning found that adults over 65 who performed sit-to-stand exercises 3 times per week increased their bone density by 19% in their hips and femurs. 19%. That is extraordinary because bone density normally only goes in one direction after 60, down. The mechanical stress of repeatedly standing up from a chair sends a signal directly to your bones that tells them to lay down new tissue. Stronger bones, same daily activity, just trained deliberately. Orthopedic surgeons have started prescribing this as preventive medicine. Many surgeons now require patients to be able to perform a minimum number of sit-to-stands before they will even schedule an elective joint procedure. because patients with strong legs and dense bones have dramatically better outcomes and heal faster. Come back in 2 weeks and tell me in the comments how the sit-to-stands are going. I want to hear your progress. That accountability is what actually makes the difference. Here is exactly how to do this correctly. Sit in a sturdy chair, feet flat on the floor, slightly wider than hip-width apart. Cross your arms over your chest. This prevents you from pushing yourself up with your hands. Lean slightly forward so your weight shifts over your feet, then stand up by driving through your heels. Rise all the way until your knees and hips are fully straight. Pause at the top for 1 second. Then lower yourself back down slowly, over a full 4-second count. Gently touch your seat, but do not fully relax. Immediately begin the next repetition. That slow descent is where most of the strength building and bone building actually happens. If you just drop down, you are losing half the benefit right there. Start with 10 repetitions. Build to 3 sets of 15. Once that is manageable, hold a jug of water against your chest for resistance. You can also slow the descent to 6 or even 8 seconds to increase the challenge without adding any weight at all. Do this every other day to give your muscles time to recover and rebuild. Within 4 weeks, I promise you this from personal experience, everyday things start feeling different. Stairs stop being something you dread. Getting up from a low couch stops requiring a strategy. You start moving through your day with a kind of quiet confidence that you might not have felt in years. That feeling is not small. That feeling is independence. So here is what I want you to take away from today. Walking is not the enemy. I still walk every morning, and you should too if you enjoy it. But walking alone is not enough. The research is overwhelming on this. Seated and functional resistance exercises produce results for seniors that walking simply cannot match. Muscle retention, bone density, fall prevention, posture, circulatory health. These 5 exercises address all of it. And the beautiful thing? You do not need a gym membership. You do not need expensive equipment. You do not need to be athletic or flexible or even particularly fit right now. You need a sturdy chair, maybe a resistance band, and about 15 minutes 3 times a week. That is it. That small investment, roughly the time it takes to watch the local news, can add real years of independent, active living to your life. Years where you are not a burden to your family. Years where you are still the one driving, still the one cooking, still the one showing up for the people you love. I started this journey at 67. I was winded going up 1 flight of stairs. I needed the railing every single time. I am 68 now, and I climbed to the top of a lighthouse on vacation last month. No railing, no problem, no stopping. These exercises did that. Not some miracle drug, not a supplement, just a chair and the willingness to show up for yourself. Now, which of these 5 exercises are you starting today? Not tomorrow, not Monday. Today. Drop it in the comments. I will personally reply to every single one. And if you know someone over 60 who has been told that walking is enough, share this video with them. It could genuinely make a difference in how they feel a month from now. Subscribe to Senior Recharge for weekly exercises, nutrition tips, and real talk about staying strong after 60, all from someone who is actually living it. It is free. It is worth it. I am Bob Miller. Take good care of yourself. You have earned it.